speak words of hope so that they will lift up their heads again and look to God and receive some hope for their future and continue to strive to go forward even in spite of all that. I came with a hope for myself and for the world and for the people that I'm preaching.
Hide me now under your wing. Cover me within your mighty hand. When the oceans rise and thunders roar, I will soar with you above the storm. Father, you are king over the flood. I will be still, know you are God. I will be still, know you are God. Find rest, my soul, in Christ alone. Know His power in quietness and trust. When the oceans rise and thunder roar, I will soar with you above the storm. Father, you are king over the flood. I will be still and know you are God. I will be still. When the oceans rise, the oceans rise and thunders roar, I will soar with you above the storm. Father, you are king over the flood. I will be still and know you are God. I will be still and know you are God. I will be still and know you are God.
Today I want to talk about how that work brings dignity. Work brings dignity. The reason why work brings dignity, or work is a major component of dignity, is this: we are made in the image and likeness of God. See, we always keep going back to chapter 1. That's why that statement about how God created man in his own image and likeness is probably one of the most important statements in the whole of Bible, because upon it rests all of man's life and activity, that man is made in the image and likeness of God. Everything about man must be interpreted in light of the fact that he is made, unlike any other creature, he is made in the likeness and the image of God. So that is why work is a major component of dignity for man. If God worked, there must be nothing wrong with work. You should not be ashamed about work. If God worked, we should not be shy. We should not be shying away from work. If God worked, then he has ascribed by his own work a dignity, a real dignity. And that is why the Protestant teaching talks about the dignity of labor. Is a Protestant teaching that is very well known, dignity of labor. And the countries that have imbibed this Protestant culture teaching, I don't mean to say that everybody is a great spiritual Christian or something like that in these countries, but their culture comes from the Protestant teaching background. And in those countries, you find extraordinary prosperity and a very positive attitude towards work of all kinds. And I'm going to talk about it today. They see work they see work as having some kind of dignity. Whatever the kind of work they do, they see it as a matter of dignity. And today, in the world, a lot of things have come from this background, from this Protestant teaching. A lot of things have begun to spread now because they saw the prosperity and the success that this kind of teaching has brought into those countries that received the Protestant teachings. I already told you one time that how 25 countries that followed the Protestant doctrine basically and brought it into their culture prospered. I mean, simply prospered like anything. And so others began to follow the thing also, even though they are not Protestants. They began to follow those principles. And as long as it's God's principle, it is going to work for you, Many of these principles are good for any country, any nation, any group of people. And so many people have followed these things and found great benefits in it. So today, even in our world, in all over the world, you'll find that people agree, work brings dignity. That thought, nobody will really outright deny the fact that work is good and that work brings dignity. This thought has taken hold. But it has not been so always. In the centuries before the Protestant movement, the attitude towards work was a whole lot different. And even before Jesus came and so on, the attitude was shaped and formed by another group of people, another kind of teaching, and I want to talk about it. The wrong kind of teaching concerning work, the wrong kind of attitudes towards work, where it came from. And you see certain effects of it even in every society in the world, even in the Protestant countries that we're talking about. You will see people have these kinds of thoughts here and there, that this kind of approach and this kind of teaching is better, the teaching that came so many centuries ago through the Greeks, basically. So I want to talk about that because we want to understand where the wrong teaching on work came from, how it came, and what is that wrong teaching that is out there. And it is in the minds of some people, even today. When I talk about it, you'll immediately understand, that's right. I didn't realize where it came from, but let's talk about it. The ancient Greeks, their thinking on work was very different from the Hebrew thinking. See, the Hebrew thinking, the Jewish people's thinking, is based on Genesis chapter 1 and 2 that we are focusing on. Their thinking was based on that. And the Greeks' thinking came from a different idea of God. See, everything starts with the idea of God. If you don't know God, then you don't know life. Then you don't understand yourself. You won't understand even work if you don't know God. See, that is why when man wants to know God, when a man wants to know himself, he must know God first, because he's made in the image and likeness of God. Only through God, you can see what kind of a person you should be. And only through God, you can see what kind of a world this is. Only through seeing God and the truth about God, you can see what work was meant to be. So the Hebrew understanding of God came from the Bible, came from the first 2 chapters of the Bible when God created everything and then created man in his image and likeness and gave him some responsibilities and so on. They base their teaching and beliefs on work on that. But later on came the Greeks. As you know, a few centuries before Jesus came, the Greeks ruled the world, and wherever they went, they built big libraries. They were very much into literature and spreading their language. And because they spread their language very widely, the ideas that were Greek ideas also began to spread and take root among various people of the world. And so they spread their ideas. Their idea about God is this, that God made human beings for work. Because gods don't want to work. they basically don't want to get down to work. So they believe that God's made human beings for work. Now, therefore, you're made like a servant or a slave to work, to slave away. So they saw no blessing in work. They thought the work was demeaning. Work was a low-class thing, and work was a curse, according to them, and nothing but a curse. You've heard about Aristotle, and Aristotle is known to have said that unemployment, by which he meant the ability to live without having to work. Unemployment, he said, was the primary qualification for a genuinely worthwhile life. Can you believe that? Now, you would think a philosopher would know better than that. So, he said that unemployment is the thing. Unemployment is a mark of a genuinely worthwhile life. That you are able to sit down and eat and not bother about working. That is the genuinely worthwhile life. That's the first qualification, he said. Now, what led the Greeks to believe something like this? Two basic things. Please understand this, because then you can compare the Bible with the Greeks' thought. Two basic things. One is they separated the spiritual from the material, and they brought this idea into the world that has damaged a lot of Christians today, even Christians and just about everybody. They brought this idea that the spiritual is better and good, and the physical and the material is bad. To them, they divided this. There was a division between the spiritual and the material, which division you will never find among the Hebrews, among the Jews. They never saw it like that. They saw, according to chapter 1 of Genesis, they said, well, God is a good God. And what about the world? They didn't say like the Greeks, oh, the world is bad. God is good, but the world is bad. Spiritual is good and the world is bad. The physical. No. They said God is good and the earth is good. Everything that God made is good. In fact, it's very good. It's wonderful. They believed that only after the fall things got ruined. But there's nothing wrong with the earth. God made a good earth, they believed. But these guys believed that work was a curse. And not only that, they believed these basic two things. One is that the spiritual and the material are two different things. You must divide the two. I mean, you must clearly mark the difference between the two. The spiritual is good and the material is bad. If they said the material is bad, then the involvement with the world and worldly work was also bad because material is bad. They saw gods like this. They said gods are distant beings. In fact, it literally means that he is beyond all these things. He has no connection with the suffering that we go through, with the problems that we face, with all our worries and difficulties and challenges that we face. He is distant from it. He may have made the world, but he removed himself far from it, allowed the world to function on its own, and removes himself far from it, does not get involved in this world, keeps himself as a distant person, so he does not feel our pain and does not know our suffering. He's God. What does he know? I'm here on this earth, I'm going through all these things, but he doesn't know anything. He's a distant being. That means these things make no sense to him. Our suffering and our pain does not make any difference to him. That's the way these people thought about God, a distant being. Not only a distant being, he's a solitary being. That he likes to stay alone by himself. He does not like a community life. He is distant, he is alone by himself, he's a solitary being. And he's an uninvolved being, uninvolved in the humdrum of daily life that we go through. Don't take your cares to him and your problems to him and trouble him with all that. He does not want to be bothered with anything that you're going through. What a picture of God. So different from what the Bible teaches, you know. And therefore they said, if God is like that and you want to become like God, then you also have to be uninvolved with the world. Come away. Be distant from all the problems of this life. Don't put your hand too much into the worldly things and get involved too much, because then you'll become a worldly person. You'll get into the world and you'll feel the world's problems and all. Come away. Be a distant person. Be a solitary person. Be an uninvolved person. That's the way to live. They believed that contemplation, if you just sat and thought about it deeply, the Greeks believed in deep thinking and all of that philosophy. So they said, if you thought about it, you'll really understand that the material world is evil and bad, and the spiritual is far better and good. In fact, the material world is temporary and unreal. Unreal means illusory, unreal. It is deceptive, it is misleading. Everything is wrong about this material world. And being over-involved or emotionally attached to it will pull you down into a kind of animal existence where you have fear now as a result of it, anger now as a result of it. You have anxiety now. You'll become like an animal. You begin to have all these feelings, they said. The true way of peace and happiness is to learn non-attachment. Now you hear that in a lot of religious philosophies in the world today. Non-attachment. This has gotten into Christianity also. No attachment with the world. Don't own anything, don't have anything, don't even have too many clothes, Have only 2 pieces, one hanging on the clothes line, the other hanging on your body. And some have even decided 2 is too much. Only 1 is enough. And some have decided even 1 is not necessary, You know about that. And we think these guys are great, wise guys. Oh my God, Oh, he's a saint. You know how he lives, You know where he lives. He doesn't live in town. He is in the mountains. He's away from everybody. See that idea of distant. He's a distant person. He does not have any cares of the world. He does not deal with the family life. He doesn't have wife. He doesn't have children. And lo and behold, we don't even think. They claim they have thought about it, contemplated, and arrived at this kind of thing. And if we really think about it, this is the problem. See, Christian thinking is not thinking in vacuum. Christian thinking is thinking the thoughts of God. If you start thinking in vacuum, that's the kind of destinations you will be arriving at. That's the kind of conclusions you will come at. But if you think biblically, you will find that it is totally wrong. Then why did God make the world? Why did He put you in the world? Why did God make intend a society? Why did God put a man there and told him to multiply, be fruitful, fill the earth with human beings and so on? Why did God create a community life? Why did God have this idea about family? Some people reject the whole idea of marriage and family. And we, without even thinking, we decide that they're great saints. Oh, brother, the beard is all the way here, And he looks so saintly. He doesn't sleep in a bed. He doesn't enjoy all the facilities. What have you left? He has not, he doesn't have anything. And you have everything. Your wife, children. You have a house. You have cars. You have all these things, but look at that man, saint. He doesn't have anything. He doesn't have to do with anything. He's not attached to anything. In this world, he is absolutely unattached. That's the sign of sainthood, they say. You see where everything comes from? This is the Greek thinking. They brought this kind of philosophy into this world, Non-attachment to the things of the world is the thing that will make you a real worthwhile human being, genuinely worthwhile human being. So the basic essence of their teaching is this, that you have to live a life that is stripped of both hopes and fears. I can understand getting rid of fears. Fear is bad. But even hope is bad, they say. That's the problem. Even hope is bad. That's the sad thing about this. I got up this morning because of hope. Otherwise, I'd still be in bed. That bed is a pretty good bed, I got up because of hope. I thought a lot of people are going to come today, and I'm going to be preaching, and people from all over the world are going to be listening, and people in deep problems and troubles and cares and worries and anxieties. I want to feed hope through the media that God has given to us. And I want to speak words of hope so that they will lift up their heads again and look to God and receive some hope for their future and continue to strive to go forward even in spite of all that. I came with a hope for myself and for the world and for the people that I'm preaching. Hope is a good thing. Without hope, you're finished. You know, if you lose everything, still you can gain it back. But if you lose hope, then everything is lost. Then only everything is lost. If you don't have anything today, you've lost everything. And you have hope today, I'll tell you, hope is a wonderful thing. That is the light that is burning in your life. And it'll take you places. Your tomorrow will be better than today if you have hope. And these people are trying to put that light out. You can't have hope or fear. So what that means is, when you say don't have hope, that what they're basically saying is, accept everything in life as they are. If you don't have anything, you have only one meal a day and can't afford to eat more than that, then accept it. This is what God has given to you. Why hope to be able to eat anything you like tomorrow? Why have entertain this hope? You'll be disappointed tomorrow. You'll become unhappy. This is what makes you unhappy. So accept it. Now, this kind of philosophy, you'll see it all the time in this world. Unattachment, accepting life as it is. This is the way the whole thing went. The second thing, see, the first thing is separating spiritual from the material, which the Hebrews never did, but the Greeks brought that idea. And even today, people do that. In Christianity, they do it very much. The Christian teaching has been affected by this idea, the Greek idea of separating the spiritual and the material, calling the spiritual good and the material bad. It has resulted in failure in Christian life. Failure when it comes to work. Failure in the way we look at things in this world. Failure in how we have things and manage things and live. It's a total failure. Failure in our earthly life as a result of this division between spiritual and the material. It's wrong. The Hebrews never entertained that kind of a thinking. In their mind, both are important, both are good. That's the way they taught, because material was made by God, and if it's made by God, if God is good, then what He made is also good. That's their logic. Big difference. The second thing is, they made a difference between different kinds of work and called some work good and some work bad. You know, you've heard of division of labor. They divided work into two different kinds, the good kind of work and the bad kind of work. No. So the work that is done with the brain, mind, if it's very mind-oriented work, you got to think and you got to plan, that type of work, that is higher than the work that you do with your body, with the strength in your body. And this was a big idea that these people brought, and that has influenced a lot of people also. The work is now looked upon in the world, even today, that has affected people. They look up at some kinds of jobs where you sit down on a table and a chair and work from there, to a manual type of job where you get involved and get dirty, and consider that the one where you sit on a chair with a table is better and good, and the one where you get yourself dirty is bad. But you will see in the societies in the world where Protestant teaching have taken hold, they don't have division of labor, they have dignity of labor. What is called the dignity of labor.
He's turned my morning into dancing again. He's lifted my sorrow. I can Where there once was only hurt, He gave His healing hand. Where there once was only pain, He brought comfort like a friend. I feel the sweetness of His love piercing my darkness. I feel the bright and morning sun as it ushers in His joyful gladness. He's turned my mourning into dancing again. He's lifted my sorrow. I can't stay silent. I must sing, for His joy has come. He's turned my mourning into dancing again. He's lifted my sorrow. I can't stay silent. I must sing, for His joy has come. But where there once was only hurt, He gave His healing hand. Where there once was only pain, He brought comfort like a... Oh, do you feel it? I feel the sweetness of His love piercing my darkness. I feel the bright and morning sun as it ushers in His joyful gladness. He's turned my mourning into dancing again. He's lifted my sorrows. I can't stay silent. I must sing, for His joy has come. Your anger lasts for a moment in time, but your favor is here and will be